righty, good morning. Welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. Have a very special guest today. I think very special. Actually, the newest member of our staff, Caliyah, is joining me this morning. And actually, it's kind of interesting how she came to us. We were looking for a receptionist, and we got ourselves another agent. So it's working out real great. We've been really busy. The phone we're coming up on the deadline, so the phone's been ringing off the hook, and sometimes going to voicemail, and all three of us are on the phone. So it's been a busy season. And this show will air, if you're listening to this on its original air date, is on December 9th, and something going on that evening, Caliyah?
My child's first birthday, and then the Christmas parade is Saturday night too. So
yeah. So yeah, you stole my thunder on that. I was going to bring up the birthday part a little bit after that, but tell us a little bit about what's happening, why you're participating in the Christmas parade.
So I'm currently your 2023 Mrs. Putnam County Fair. I won over the summer, and so I get to participate quite a bit in events all around Cookeville. Actually, last weekend I got to meet the mayor, so that was fun. Just getting to spread awareness about my job and what I do and enjoy time with my kids.
So I get a kind of a double blessing on that. Is she's going to be in the fair or in the parade because of her pageant win, and also representing Matt Libby Insurance. So I love that part. And as she mentioned, like I said, she kind of stole my thunder because I was going to kind of bring it up because it's a very big day for Matt Libby Insurance, but it's a really big day for Caliyah's household.
I guess you could call it a big day. I'm more emotional than I am excited about it at the moment, but
yeah, before you know it, you'll be taking senior pictures. Oh.
Right, driving and all those fun things.
Oh yeah, all those fun things. The teen years are coming.
Don't remind me.
Oh, and just one more year to Terrible Twos.
Hey, Terrible Twos aren't nothing. Terrible Threes with Andolin were way worse than Terrible Twos were. So I'm crossing my fingers that maybe I have 2 years before those hit.
Yeah, my wife always jokes with the problem, with Terrible Twos is that at 4 it's just double. And so you're dealing with, or she's 3, or she's 4.
She turned 4 in July. So
yeah,
we're at that in between where sometimes we're like super great at home, and then other times we're wild and there's no taming the four-nager attitude.
Right. So if you're one of my regular clients, you're used to coming by the office and you look in and you don't see Bree and you're going, wait a minute, who's this and what happened to Bree? We stuck Bree back in the corner, but we've kind of divided the office up into kind of cubicles things so we can run appointments and not quite be talking over each other. It's been working. It's tough sometimes, but it's working.
Yeah.
But
it's doable.
It's
not
doable.
Bad.
So I wanted to ask Caliyah. Caliyah's, like I said, the newest member of our office and definitely the youngest. We tease her about that a little bit.
You don't have to bring that up. It's okay.
Well, I'm the oldest. As I said, we were talking about this milestone birthday of the first birthday, but I've got my milestone birthday this weekend also, which is the lovely 65 of, I actually have my Medicare card now. I am officially on Medicare now as of the first of this month. So it helps me, I already knew what was coming, but it's also now I've got the things that I can kind of share with other client or our prospective clients of, well, this is what I have. This is why I picked this. Of course, my situation's a little different with being in the military. So, but it gives me that when I'm talking to other military people, I can say, I'm not just recommending this plan. I have that plan, and that's one of the things we've been able to do. Every one of us in the office is a customer of our office, so
yeah.
So that part helps, and it gives, like I said, it gives that credibility that we can say, well, I picked this plan for me, and I can explain why. That's why I'm recommending that plan for you, or vice versa.
Yeah, it becomes relatable to people, whenever you can personally give them a recommendation on what you do for you or you and your family.
Yeah, that's like, Bree pulled out like her, I don't know, something on her own stuff and said, I don't mind to show this to you. This is why I have this plan. So all three of us, have, like I said, we have our health insurance through us, but we all three, actually 3 different carriers. We won't name the carriers at this point, but we're all 3 on different health plan with different carriers, and that's one of the beauties you get with a brokerage is we're not limited to just one company. I know you're inundated by a lot of those phone calls, and sometimes they're legitimate agents like ourselves that are just trying to earn a living. But again, a lot of times it'll happen too of maybe you had an ACA plan that company knows you're turning 65, so that company starts soliciting you too. But the problem there is they only, that inside salesperson they're sending to you can only offer you that plan, or their company's plans. So they're not gonna. They're gonna downplay the competition. You can't say, well, mine's better. That's actually illegal. But they can say, oh, this is what's really great about our plan, and sometimes what they think is really great is really kind of minor.
Right.
So it helps. It really helps to deal with a broker. But one of the things I wanted to ask Caliyah was, how did you get started in the insurance business? I have my own story because I did 20 years in the Army and 10 years of other jobs before I got into insurance. So there's always a process, but Bree is a little different. Bree came to me as a receptionist and became an agent internally. So I helped her with that progression. But Caliyah already had her license, so I'm kind of curious what attracted you to that and how you kind of got started with that.
So I left my previous staffing company back in 2021, and I had just decided that I wanted more for myself. I wanted more for my kids. I wanted a more flexible schedule. I wanted to be able, to depend on, a living while still being a mom and a wife, and that's something you don't get with a corporate job.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you're working a 9 to 5 and that's all that you work, you're limited to that income. And I was approached by somebody that was looking to hire that didn't have a strict schedule. You were, work what you can. You were unlimited, income. You can make what you want to make. And that really just attracted me to the insurance business. And then after I had my daughter, I decided that I wanted to be out of the house. I didn't want to work at home anymore. I'm home all the time with my kids. I wanted to be able to, still be a person, still be Caliyah instead of just mom. And I came across Matt's ad on Facebook, and I applied. And I honestly, the first conversation we had, you were like, you're overqualified.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I know that I'm overqualified, but there's possibility there. So I came in as the receptionist, and right off the bat, Matt said, let's do more. Let's get you appointed with some agents, and let's, allow you to make more money than just receptionist money. And I think one of the big things that a lot of people, think when you're overqualified, maybe you can do more with a job than what, was in your head. So I think originally in your head, you just wanted a receptionist. You just needed somebody to answer the phones. So, when I came in and was able to, not have to transfer all the calls to you and Bree because I kind of knew what I was doing and things like that, I think that just made taking on that position easier for all of us, especially in AEP season.
Great. And you mentioned the time freedom, the flexible schedule, being able, but that's we always say, but that's the curse too. It's like the best thing about this business is you set your own schedule. The worst thing about this business is you set your own schedule.
Right. And, being in an agent role, there's lots of times, such as, this week it's a busy week for everybody. And, you put in your mind, okay, I'll work 8 to 4 today. And then, at 4:30, you're still working and it doesn't seem like it ever ends. But that's not all the time a year round thing.
6:30 last night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yesterday was probably one of the latest days I stayed too.
Yeah.
Just because we got to working on things, and things don't stop just because you need to leave.
Right. Yeah. And it is flexible. Now it is going to be. It's almost going to be depressing because it's going to get so slow here, and in a week, it's like the phone hasn't rang all morning.
What do I do with myself?
Yeah, and in the first week of the year, we're going to get those calls of, I don't have my card. I'm sorry. That's kind of the way it works, especially with the under 65 health insurance. The card's getting out kind of slow, and but we do have that deadline coming up. We still have another week or pretty much about another full week from when we air this, to be able to get your under 65 ACA, also known as Obamacare plans, in place for January 1st of 2024. But the good news there is that we do have until January 15th for the open enrollment period. So if you have a plan and you're thinking about changing it, but it's not critical that you change it for December 1st, don't worry so much about that deadline. We can still get you something changed. It just won't change until February 1st. So because not so much around here. We've actually got a third carrier in our area for this coming year that we didn't have. But in my previous area that I lived in and had my previous office, one of the carriers there has lost a lot of their contracts, like with the hospitals. A lot of the doctors are leaving the network, and they're also not really competitive price-wise. So I'm trying to get with those folks and say, hey, we really need to look at maybe changing your plan. And if I don't get them before the 15th, they might figure out in January, oh, wait a minute, I'm paying a lot more than I thought I was going to pay this year, or go to the doctor, and the doctor says it's not too late for them. So we do have that opportunity. One of the questions that we mentioned yesterday is like, well, what are we going to talk about? And I don't know if I phrased it exactly like this, but it's like, what did you think you knew about health insurance, and then coming in the office have learned that, oh, I didn't really understand it the way I thought it was, or now I have a better understanding? What was kind of the biggest surprise in that realm?
So one of the biggest things to me, where I came from, life insurance and supplemental policies and things like that, learning that that tax credit really does a lot of good for so many people. That's not something that's widely advertised or talked about, especially not in the other side of insurance that I came from. So a lot of times you just think that health insurance is going to be this outrageous $500-$600 bill every month, but a lot of people don't realize that that's not the case for them.
Right.
Especially, when you are lower income and you're not offered health insurance through work, there's so much that, is able to help people that I just wasn't aware of how that worked, or how, widely common that is.
Right. So I'm going to touch on something. It's kind of the opposite of what Caliyah just said. Talking about, you should talk about the young people and not having the opportunity for insurance through work. I don't know why, even in the under 65 market, I seem to deal a lot more with the people that are close to my age. They're not ready for Medicare yet, or we run into that situation of one's on Medicare, but the other one still needs insurance. So those things kind of come up. So after the break, I'm going to address something related to that, and then we'll get going from there. So right now we're basically at 14 minutes, so we've hit the halfway point. Now it's like Bree said, there's not. It's done, it's over before you know it. It goes really quick. This is the time we clear our throats.
I was about to say, these allergy stuffies hit everybody, huh?
So anyway, I'm just going to wait till it hits the 15-minute mark, and then I'll see. I'm watching the timer there, so it's.
I can't see that.
Yeah, first time I came in, I sat there, but had the producer sitting here and giving us countdowns, and then I switched up, and it's like, oh, I like this better. We get done quicker too, because we'd take 10 minutes to get started. Now we come in, they set it up, boom, we go. But basically, it kind of runs like two 14-minute segments, and then it goes back in.
That's not bad.
It's at 14:55. Okay. Well, welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking, and I have my newest staff member, Caliyah, here on the program with me. If you're tuning in late, we've been talking about what changes have happened for her, and one of the things we were talking about was the people not realizing about the tax credit that helps you pay for the Affordable Care Act plans, or what can make those plans affordable. One of the issues I mentioned before the break, is I would work with couples that maybe one was on Medicare and the other still needed health insurance, or somebody, they're around 60, but they're getting ready to retire. Maybe they've retired, especially like they're between 62 and 65. They've maybe started their Social Security and maybe other retirement plans, but they're not old enough for Medicare yet. And so a couple years ago, or up to a couple years ago, there was a very hard cap on the income you could earn, which was 400% of the poverty level. The qualifying for the tax credit originally was you had to make at least 100% of the poverty level, which is hovered around $1,000 a year for one person, and now it's, or $1,000 a month, I'm saying. And now it's about 14.6, I think, is the cutoff, because we'll get people to come in and make 12 or 13,000. Like, well, we can't really help you unless you figure maybe there's a way you can earn some other income to qualify for the tax credit. But my older clients, making the minimum was not the problem. It was hitting that cap, and the problem was those plans now are so expensive because of their age. But say at 60,000, they were getting a $1,400 tax credit that helped them pay for a $1,600 health plan. So they were only paying a couple $100, and they were okay with that. But something would change in their income during that year, or they took money early out of a 401k, a qualified plan, not thinking about the fact of, yes, they're going to have to pay tax on that, but it also bumped their income now. And so I've had a few clients, and I've mentioned this on other shows, they went over that cap, and before they kind of eliminated the 400% cap, it was right at about 69,000. So if they were at like 65 to 67,000 as their estimate, I'd go, well, maybe we should look and see if we can do something that's an alternative that isn't based on your income, because when you file your income tax the next year, and that's the problem, you don't really realize that you underestimated your income and now weren't low. That's in the wrong word. You weren't eligible for that $1,200 tax credit, and so when you file your income tax, you owed all that back. Well, $1,200 times 12 months, is over $14,000,
Right.
and that's not a nice tax bill. So a lot of them would avoid the tax bill. Some I've had people just like, well, I just won't get insurance then, and it's like I can't make people get insurance. But we did have alternatives that, they're called short-term plans, and people say, well, I thought you couldn't have to qualify health-wise. Well, yeah, but that's why these are not the ACA plans. To be eligible, there are plans. The carriers do offer what they call off-exchange plans, that there's no tax credit involved. Some of the companies, it's the same plans they offer on the marketplace. There's just no tax credit. And then the others, they have a few plans that they're not offered on the marketplace. But with the Inflation Reduction Act, they changed the rule that you should not be paying more than 8.8% of your income on your health insurance. So that actually, there's still a cap, but it's not at 400%. Like I said, where it was about 69,000. I had a client that decided to take some money out, wanted to get a new vehicle that hopefully will last him several years in his retirement, and didn't want to carry a loan on it. So, I'll take the hit on the health insurance because I can. And we bumped the income estimate up to $150,000. They were still eligible for a tax credit at that level. So that cap was not, because what had happened was there's still, as you earn more income, your tax credit decreases. The problem was when it was that 400% cap, it was still a substantial tax credit, but as soon as you just went that little bit over, it was gone. I refer to it as like it's a cliff. And if you're used to reading chart graphs, the thing goes up, and then it just, boom, it's gone.
Plummets.
Or it was coming down, but then it just, it fell off. It's like a drop off when you go in the water or something. So that helped. That's helped some people be able to go ahead and get those. And I've had some people that I had written some of the other alternatives say, hey, might make sense to look at the marketplace now because you can earn a little bit more. And sometimes with that tax credit, they're paying less than they were with the other plans. Now, I like those other plans because I make more off of them than I do the marketplace plan. But they have some limitations. It's like we talk about in the Medicare field. Medicare supplements have their positives, Medicare Advantage have their positives, and we have to weigh those options. So, and I know you haven't really you've been kind of picking up on that.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot more familiar with the healthcare side of things over the Medicare. I just feel like maybe it's a little bit easier to pick up. There's not as many options.
Right.
But luckily, with Medicare being over today, actually, for this year, hopefully in the next year, we'll be ready to hit the ground running next open
Right.
enrollment
Yeah, I
season.
was thinking about that this morning. It's like, because Caliyah does have, she does have her marketplace certification now, so she can do, the under 65. And actually, if we get her pointed with a couple of cares, she can help people with a Medicare supplement because there's no certification for that beyond your license. But the Part D drug plans, the Medicare Advantage plans, there's a certification process, and we'll probably work on it sometime this summer. It's kind of like we did with Bree, because we have to do that annual testing and that training. But if you wait until the next year's is out and do it then, once you complete that certification, you're good for that year and the next year. So
Right.
It's like you can kind of get it, the first year you can get the year and a half. So if we did it like in January, you'd have to do it again in July for
But you do
for
it
the
summer
next
to
year.
summer, and it would.
Yeah. So
carry
I think
over.
that's probably what we'll end up doing, and we may change, depending how things transpire this year. If we get people calling in, and we really need another Medicare agent, we may speed up that process, but it's good to have a kind of a learning curve. One of the things, Caliyah's the one that's usually answering the phone when you call in, and kind of walk us kind of through that. I got kind of reviewing people. What if somebody calls in, they're not or even if they are existing client, but kind of what's your process when somebody calls in and they've got questions about their health insurance?
The first thing I want to know, obviously, name. Who am I talking to? A lot of people, I'm guilty of it too. When we call somebody, we tell them our first name. And if your name is Caliyah, that's not an issue. But if your name is Matt or Brianna or whatever, those are very common names. So a lot of times people don't realize that there's more than one Matt, Bree, however. And then I like to know your initial issue. So I like to just kind of get a brief, what you're calling about, whether it be payment issues, whether it be, you're looking to change your plans. Just kind of want to know where you're at, what your thought process is, kind of that. Then I'm going to get your phone number and your email address. That way we can make sure that we have all the updated forms that we need, your consent form and things like that. And then after that, from there, whether they go to Bree for more of the healthcare side of things or whether they, come to you for whatever else, just making sure we get them done in a timely manner and, make sure that they're not needing anything urgently.
Okay. And what's the next step there? The infamous forms.
Yeah, the forms. So, we do have to have your CMS consent form. That's just our consent form to be able to look at your marketplace insurance, and then your updated information or your initial information, your income, your family size, who's needing insurance, things like that. Are you offered insurance through work? Is it just not affordable? Those forms are a crucial part of what we do. Without those CMS forms, we aren't staying compliant with marketplace, and without your information, we could be giving you totally wrong quotes that would do you no good at all.
And that's a great point. The wrong quotes. A lot of times people, I just need a quote. Well, we need a little bit more information. It's like, well, I need to know how much insurance is for a 24-year-old non-smoker. Well, that's great, but we still need a little bit more information, especially if you're looking for health insurance. Now, if we're just looking at life insurance, that's a little easier. You may call when you're doing car insurance. You can say, hey, I'm this age and this is the kind of car I have. What am I looking at for insurance? And even then, like I said, that insurance agent needs more than just your age. We need to know your zip code. We need and one of the things, especially for in Tennessee in general, your zip code's not enough.
Right. We need to know your actual city.
Yeah, well, and we need to know the county.
Right.
We need to know the county you live in because, we've got basically two zip codes here in Cookeville, and depending on which zip code you're in, there's different counties and they're not exactly the same. You can have a Monterey zip code. You can be in more than one county. And some of the plans that matters with the Affordable Care Act plans, not as much. Most of the plans that are available in Putnam County are the same plans are in White or Overton or Clay, but with the Medicare Advantage plans, that is very different.
Right.
So that's what we needed. And she mentioned the CMS consent form. It's kind of new. So that's the thing. Existing clients are kind of like, hey, and what she ran. Hey, is Matt available? And it's kind of like, can I talk to Matt? And it's like, Matt might need more information.
Right.
And that's one of the things one of the things I will rant on is if you call us, sometimes we can't answer the phone. Please leave a voicemail, leave a message, and not just please call me. Tell me what you're calling in about, why you want me to call you back. Because a lot of times there's stuff that we need to research. All right, if you have a question, leave the question on the voicemail. A lot of times I can answer that. A lot of times, a quick text or email, I can send you your answer because, I'll call and I'll get your voicemail, and then I'm trying to explain it, or it just depends on when you call. So if you have questions, please leave the questions when you call. And as I've mentioned, if you're hearing me on the radio here, you go to insurancematchmaking.com. There's a place there to submit questions. We have it set up as to submit questions for the show, but you can use that as an existing client also because it will send me that quick question. Now, more than likely, though, you're probably going to call. But if you think of something on the weekend, you're like, well, and sometimes people will call or text, because it shows up on my phone, even if you're calling the office, that you're calling. But I know sometimes some people, they really aren't expecting me to answer on the weekend. They just want to ask their question. But there's times, and a lot of times what I'll do, somebody texts me a question, I can text back a quick answer if I know the answer, or I may text them later with the answer, even if it's on the weekend. But generally in our business, we don't really have situations in our business. Even God forbid you're at the emergency room or you're taking a loved one to the emergency room, but you can't find their insurance card.
That can be handled later of the time.
Right. It can be handled later. Generally, though, for peace of mind, I will, send that information to you if I can get it to you, just so you have it. But the hospital will bill you later. They're going to treat you. If it's a true emergency, they're going to treat you. The biggest one I'll get, though, is usually not. This doesn't happen on the weekends, but it's usually early in the morning and they're calling it's an emergency, and it's really not an emergency, but it is kind of urgent because they're at the dentist's office and they're all upset because the dentist's office is informing them that they don't have dental insurance, which may not be correct, but the card that the people are giving them
is incorrect.
The marketplace plans do have to provide insurance, dental insurance for children, and vision, exams. So sometimes the medical card will say dental and vision on that card, but they're missing the fact that in front of that dental and vision it says pediatric.
Yeah.
And so they're giving them that medical card, and that's usually my answer. Is like, are you giving them such and such card? And they're like, well, yeah. And it's like, well, that's not the dental plan. Your dental plan is this one. Do you have that card? And then again, the problem is they'll get those calls when I'm not at the office either, or maybe I'm somewhere like I'm right now at the radio station. I can't address it right that minute, but I'll get it to them when I can. But that's what we run into, and believe it or not, we're out of time. Anything you want to add real quick?
No, I think we're good.
This went quicker than you thought, huh?
Went way quicker than I thought.
All right. Well, and I'm still going to try, even through the holidays, try to get a new show each week. And not just depend on replays, but stay listening. Check out the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next week on the radio.